So is he from a low or high caste? Low caste. He's from a low caste, but he succeeded and is a millionaire?
In no other country in the world, at any point in history, has the distinctions of caste and skin color been detailed and meticulously structured as elaborately as in India. Legend has it that the god Brahma himself revealed the secrets of humans, their destiny, origin, and purpose through vibrations in the universe that only a select group of people could hear and interpret. Since Brahma revealed these secrets to them, they were called the Brahmins, the highest caste. According to the doctrine, they were created from Brahma's own head. Below them were the Kshatriyas, created from the arms. Below them, the Vaishyas, who came from the legs. And at the very bottom, the Shudras, created from the feet. And below them, below all of them, who were not created from any part of Brahma, came the Dalits. In disparaging terms, they came from excrement, and that was all they could do, clean excrement. These castes are really just forced lines of work from birth to death. And no one is allowed to do the work of another caste or associate with people outside their own, much less marry.
These are the Dalits, the lowest caste in India. For millennia, they were forbidden to learn to read and write. They were not allowed to work in anything other than cleaning latrines. Why? Look at them. See how kind they are. Would you have the heart, the nerve, the shamelessness to tell these children, you know what? You can't go to school, you can't learn to read and write, you can't work at anything, only clean latrines. Could you tell any of these children, you know what? As adults, you're only going to clean latrines, nothing else. Go ahead, tell them.
Dalits weren't just forbidden from entering temples, they couldn't drink water from the same well or river as the other castes. And if someone drank from where the Dalits drank, they had to be purified. Dalits were forced to use a bell to announce their arrival so that others could avoid the disgust and contamination of seeing them. There were severe punishments for those who dared to disobey or do things they were not allowed to, like reading the holy book. All of this was supported and approved by the government and the rest of the general population.
No one, no person, no one who calls themselves a good person, a decent person, someone with ethics, can pass a law that you know will ruin children's futures, that will prohibit them, limit their job options. It's ridiculous. In fact, they call them the untouchables, as if saying, you're so disgusting that it's not worth it for me to touch you. I'll get sick if I touch you. For millennia, these people, the Dalits, were at the very bottom, at the very bottom, at the very bottom of Hindu society and were reserved only for cleaning animal dung. They were considered so low, such trash, that it wasn't even worth turning to look at them. Personally, when I see children, I start to think, how can I help them? How can I give them a hand so they have a better future? So they progress, so they're happy, so they're rich, so they're healthy. Now imagine looking at children and thinking the opposite. Start thinking, how can I ruin their future? How can I guarantee that this child will be poor for life? To me, that's unthinkable, incomprehensible. I'll never understand that urge people have to look at a child and not wish them the best.
Horrible. And why did they never rebel? Why didn't they take up arms? Well, it's simple. Religious blackmail. In Hindu belief, there's a strong faith in karma and reincarnation. The combination of these two is the key to understanding the reason for their subjugation. It's said that if you behave well in this life and obey the limits of your caste and don't do things that your caste isn't supposed to do, you will reincarnate into a higher caste in your next life? Ha ha ha. Oh, what cunning. Look at that. So, the karma of not being violent, rebellious, or starting a revolution and being submissive and obedient to the limits placed on your caste determines your caste in the next life. And because of this belief, the Dalits obeyed diligently for thousands of years. Based on these beliefs, I think that Hinduism cannot exist without castes. For Hinduism to exist, there must be castes. Hinduism without castes contradicts itself. This is just my opinion. Let's continue.
We've covered the Brahmins at the top and the Dalits at the bottom. Now let's examine the two main groups in the middle.
Look at this pyramid. The Brahmins were priests and teachers. Below, the Kshatriyas, who were warriors, Vaishyas were farmers and merchants, and the Shudras, who are laborers, the hardest work. And no one could do any work outside their caste. What your caste assigns you, that's what you'll always do for your whole life, and your children and their children. These last two castes at the very bottom are the engine of the economy and society, and they're the ones who support the two castes above. These castes at the very bottom don't need those above. It's actually the other way around. Only the power of a religion could blind so many people to something so obvious for so many years and make them believe the opposite, that it's the peasant who needs the priest. These so-called castes are really just a system of exploitation, where the people who actually work support the freeloaders at the top. If we Mexicans were in this society, since we're not part of the religion, we'd be in the two lowest castes, workers and merchants and manual labor. The word caste means race, type, or group. The Hindu word for caste means color, but not always. This girl, for example, is here among the Dalits. She was born in the Dalit community, but her skin tone is light, so not always. There are exceptions.
Imagine having so little love for your fellow man that you'd say, these children don't deserve to be touched. What is that? How sad to think that existed.
But if they already had a caste for manual labor, why create the Dalits? They give us several reasons. Some say it was to prevent pandemics. If those who clean latrines are never touched and they don't touch anyone, pandemics are avoided. We saw something similar during COVID where there was isolation and aggression towards medical staff. Others say it was to protect the family's work skills from competition by keeping the knowledge of their trades within the community. Others say that Brahma did it to test their obedience and to maintain the inferior status of those whom God created as inferior. I disagree with all of them. The real reason was oppression. In fact, the word Dalit means oppressed. When Gandhi came to power, he changed their name from untouchables to children of God, so it would sound a little better.
But all this changed when the caste system was abolished. And here is the expert in Indian history, the historian. Tell us, Professor, explain to us, who is this man and what did he do?
A god. For them, he was like a god to the Dalits, right? His name is Baba Sahab Bhimrao Ambika. That's his full name. He himself was a Dalit. Friends, if he hadn't been born or hadn't created the Constitution of India, the Dalits wouldn't have been able to study. Thanks to him, the Dalits, the lower castes, are no longer at the very bottom.
And now they are free to do whatever kind of work they want. And some have become rich, some are getting there, and some are millionaires. Let's take a look at their neighborhood, see the houses, and see the fortune they've created. Here, this guy has his seeds. He dehydrates them, roasts them, and adds flavor. And now he packages them and has his own brand. That's how you get out of poverty. You're not going to get out of poverty by avoiding eating out at a restaurant. No. Start your own brand. Look, there's this guy's empire. Look.
Recyclers, let's say, that looks like a very humble job. And it looks like a very, very poor job. Humble, but they're millionaires. And they recycle and work really hard. If you work hard in India, they're proof you can become a millionaire. If you want to see their house is really big, honestly.
I mean, is he from a low or high caste?
Low, but he has overcome it.
But he's a millionaire. Congratulations. Congratulations. Look, here's the kid's house. 3 floors just like that. The flag of India is already up there. Look, just from recycling trash, look, here's his business. This is his family business. Just recycling trash. Like the saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Look, here's the business. Here's the big house. Well, in the young man's case, I have a lot of respect for him. I'm going to take him to eat some beef tacos so he can see. Look, there's the last name.
It's the last name, it's like Sony. In Hindu society, people can already tell that this is a person who belongs to a lower caste. If someone is named Sony, people assume it's Sony and that they're Dalit.
In India, people can quickly identify your caste by factors like skin color, job, last name, and birthplace. Many Hindus wouldn't be, etc., etc. Many Hindus would not be comfortable forming a friendship or any kind of relationship with someone if they don't know what caste they are from. Some people try to hide their caste and move to another city where nobody knows them and change their name, but sooner or later, someone always exposes them. The taboo and condemnation continue even though castes were banned. Many Dalits have factories, and outside of them, they put up these signs with their Dalit surname with pride.
Being a shoemaker was one of the few jobs these guys, the Dalits, were allowed to do. And now that they are free, they have shoe factories all over their neighborhoods, just like this one. Let's take a look. Made in India? Yes. Look, going from cleaning latrines to having your own shoe factory in the same neighborhood where you and your family were forced to live because it was the ugliest neighborhood in the city. That's cool. Look, check it out. Four stories the house. No, it's a huge house. And even so, being a millionaire, he can't marry a girl from a higher caste. For example, you girls, you who are watching this video at home, if a guy is from a poor family with a low status last name, but he's a millionaire, would you marry him? I see that 99 out of you would say yes. Imagine not marrying a millionaire just because his last name is associated with poor people. No way, what is that?
I'm about to knock on his door and tell him to go to Mexico.
There you'll find thousands of girls.
Who would marry him?
So if you have a group of people and they're all extremely poor, and at school they tell you they're poor because they're lazy and they're dumb, and there's also a law that forbids them from having any jobs except the lowest ones, it forbids them from learning to read and write, well, later those laws are abolished. And that group of people who are poor now have the right to go to school and to work whatever jobs they want. And 70 years later, you start to see that people from that community became self-made millionaires. What does that mean? Let's see. What does that mean? It's evidence that, repeat after me, castes are a myth, an invention, a fallacy. We all have the same ability. So now you know, look, if you want to come to India and get to know the real India, not the nonsense from TikTok, here with my buddy.
Please, friends, only one option for India. Deepak, contact me, please.
And we're going to take him to Mexico so he can see the street food and be shocked at how Mexicans eat. What is street food like in Mexico from the point of view of a guy from India? So stay tuned for the video. Indian guy reacts to Mexican street food.
Look, when you see the neighborhood from above, you realize something. Look, then look at the houses. There are already built houses, nice houses, big, huge houses, factories, businesses. In this neighborhood, it used to be all shacks. How did they go from this to this? Not all of them. There are different levels of progress. Everyone is trying. And while some progress more than others, everyone is improving. These people have only had 70 years of freedom. In 70 years, this is all the progress this caste has made. Which leads me to think that in about 100 or 200 years, they will be completely integrated and there won't be any caste differences. Yes, there will still be rich and poor, but it won't be based on your last name. It will depend on who you are. These houses took generations to build, and the people who live here are very proud of them. It's the work of their grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, themselves and their children. When you walk down the street, they invite you in saying, "Come in, take a look. Go, see my house, see my family's whole legacy. Look at the 3 floors. See how they show off their houses to you in a really positive way. They say, look, we are Dalits, but look at what we built. This is the elementary school for Dalit children. It's free and it's also mandatory. The only downside is that it isn't secular. There's the Buddha temple. Now they can come here to learn to read and write, which is already a huge advantage. Here, more or less, the Buddha, the monk, explained to me what Buddhism is. So from what I see, it's not a religion, it's a philosophy. Well, that's fine. It's not as harmful as other religions where they put a supreme being who created you, created the whole universe, is always watching you, and wants you to donate money to his church. Here are the equivalents of the PRI and the PAN, look, doing their cleaning campaign. They have their speakers just like over there, and they have the garbage cart. That song is the equivalent of the one for President Mains. It's the song politicians use here. What I'm opposing is that there's a law sponsored and supported by the state and the government and all levels of society. A law that guarantees you'll be poor for the rest of your life and your children, no matter how hard you work. And I also oppose a law that guarantees you'll be rich even if you don't want to work and make the effort. That's the problem, you see?
After thousands of years of castes, they're so deeply rooted in the culture and society that it's impossible for a single person, quote unquote, to move up in caste. The only way I see is for the castes to rise together as a group. That the 200 million people classified as Dalits overcome and progress together and for a long period of time. And in this way reclaim their dignity as human beings and leave behind this horrible belief in castes.
And now if you're thinking, oh, how mean these people are, how ignorant, why are they so classist? How awful this caste system is. Let's talk seriously, from one Latino to another. Let's not fool ourselves. We know very well that our society isn't so different from that of the Hindus. And if you hadn't thought about this before, well, I'm sorry to tell you, we're not that far off. They have a caste system, right? We're almost the same. It's just that we don't call it a caste system, we call them social classes, income levels. And this isn't just in Latin America, it's everywhere in the world. I haven't been to a single country in my travels where there aren't social classes. Norway, Switzerland. There will always be someone who treats you differently according to these income levels. I'm not saying that's right. I'm just reminding you that this is the society we create, accept, keep alive, and refuse to dismantle. That society where there are those who have and those who don't, and some level in between, and they treat you according to what level you're at. The only difference with India is that they're honest. They say it to themselves and to the world honestly. Yes, we are classist. When you compare the mindset of the average Latino and the average Hindu, the only difference is that they call it the caste system, and we call it how much you earn. That's my report. See you next time.